installHUB.com. Streamlining your installations.
Hey you, thanks for listening to the pod again. We've made it to the end of the month. It's the 30th of June. So let's see what's been happening this week in this very busy industry. Starting with this news, the United Kingdom's advertising watchdog, the Advertising Standard Agency, has banned 2 ad campaigns from EV makers Toyota and Hyundai over exaggerated claims on charging times and misleading claims on charger availability. This is according to The Guardian. Now, Toyota, the maker of the BZ4X, ran a campaign on its UK website that had the tagline, "Making electric easy," claiming that the crossover could be charged to 80% state of charge in about 30 minutes using a 150 kilowatt DC fast charger. At the time, the Japanese automaker claimed that drivers could easily find rapid charging points in a number of public locations, especially in areas where drivers were most likely to need them. Hyundai ran a similar ad campaign and used its website, a YouTube video featuring players from the Premier League club Chelsea, and a digital billboard in London's Piccadilly Square, claiming that the Ioniq 5 could be charged from 10% to 80% in 80 minutes from a 350 kilowatt charger. However, the ASA received complaints that challenged the claims of charging times, which both companies admitted were achieved in perfect conditions. Furthermore, the claims about the easy-to-find, easy-to-use DC fast chargers across the UK were also challenged. Volkswagen has introduced measures to temporarily scale back production of electric models at one of its German plants. According to the German car makers' Work Council, a shift at Volkswagen's Emden plant in Lower Saxony has been cancelled for the next 2 weeks in a lead-up to an extended 4-week summer holiday period for workers on electric vehicle lines in July and August. Among the models affected are the ID4 SUV and early productions of the ID7 Saloon. Details of the shortening of shifts were provided by Manfred Wolf, who is head of the Work Council for the Eden plant. In response to an inquiry from the German press agency and an earlier article published by the Northwest newspapers, they said it's right to give staff time off. In other news this week, Lucid will pursue more deals to sell its luxury EV equipment as it looks to grow its technology supply business. Its top executive said on Wednesday that adding its recent deal with Aston Martin is just the start. The US EV firm will provide Aston Martin with technology including a rear drive unit with twin motors, battery modules and software for integrating systems under the agreement with the British luxury car maker. CEO Peter Rawson has said this deal really kicks off that wing of the Lucid Group's business. Now, I seem to mention this every week in the podcast. A number of companies have been established to provide a second life for electric vehicle batteries, but industry experts say such businesses could face major difficulties even as the EV market continues to grow. Reuters news agency reported that nearly 50 startup companies have been launched with the aim of buying used EV batteries and reselling them to be used for new purposes. In addition, large car makers such as Mercedes and Nissan have set up their own operations to give EV batteries a second life. The company's founders believe they can find new purpose for used EV batteries from vehicles. The businesses will seek batteries that have been in use for 8 to 10 years. The capacity of EV batteries generally falls below 80 to 85% during those years. Then the companies will repurpose the batteries and sell them. But experts say there is currently a shortage of old EV batteries, and this situation is expected to continue in the foreseeable future. One reason for this is that many people are keeping their vehicles for a longer time. And of course, with the price of EVs at the moment, people do want to get their money's worth. The 2024 Nissan Leaf has entered the new model year unchanged, which people are a little bit shocked about. It is the last fully electric vehicle in production using the connector for DC fast charging. Pricing starting around £29,000 with a mandatory destination charge price of £1,000, up £340 from the 2023 model year. As with the previous model year, the Leaf lineup includes 2 grades, the base model being the the Leaf S with a 40 kilowatt battery pack yielding 149 miles of EPA rated range and a single electric motor, sending 174 HP and 236 of torque to the front wheels. Now, if you're from the UK or you're planning on visiting us, then this is what you need to know. The NC500 has been ranked the best road in the UK for EV road trips with data from leasing.com, finding that the route is the most stress-free and accessible for electric cars. In 2022, it was found that there were at least 30 charging stations along this circular route, which runs from Inverness. Charging Place Scotland's and CPS EV Charge can be found as the majority provider there, and if you're after stress-free, then apparently the NC500 is the way to go. In other news this week, BP is to invest €7.5 million in EV charging service provider Service for Chargers as part of a €10 million funding round. BP Ventures has invested the millions in Service for Charge, which is a Berlin-based provider for the planning, installation, operation and maintenance of EV charging infrastructure. BP Ventures is leading Service for Charge's 10 million Service A funding round, which included participation of 2.5 million from Smart Energy Innovation Funds, the cooperative venture capital arm of Energy 360, which is a Swiss energy provider who invests in sustainable companies across the energy sector in Germany, Austria and Switzerland. This is really cool news. China is on track to double its wind and solar energy capacity and hit its 2030 clean energy target 5 years early, a new report has found. The country is expected to produce 1,200 gigawatts of solar and wind power by 2025 if all prospective plants are built and commissioned. This is according to a study from the non-profit Global Energy Monitor. Solar capacity in China is now greater than the rest of the world combined. In onshore and offshore wind capacity, it's doubled since 2017 and is roughly equal to the combined total of the other top 7 countries. It's not a surprise at all that China is ahead of the game, but still a little shocking at how much so. 5 years being shaved off is quite a big triumph. In other solar news, one of the UK's largest solar farms has been given permission to be built by the government. I spoke about this a few weeks ago in the podcast when they put in for planning and it was all up for debate. Well, I'm pleased to say now that Longfield Solar Farm near Tenglin in Essex will be big enough to power about 60,000 households. Concerns were raised about losing the farmland and damaging the biodiversity, but the planning interceptors recommended its approval. Energy Security Secretary Grant Shapps said the site would deliver cheap energy for consumers and businesses. The site near Chelmsford would be a joint venture between EDF Renewables and Padaro Solar and classed as a national significance infrastructure project. The generating capacity would be up to 500 MW and the 380 hectare farm would also have battery storage. How does the saying go? 1 step forward and 10 steps back. Well, the Scottish Government has been urged to backtrack on a decision to limit funding for residential solar panels. The Home Energy Scotland Grant and Loan Scheme provides cash to eligible households looking to create more energy efficient and environmentally friendly homes. Scots were able to apply for loans and grants worth thousands of pounds to help install solar panel systems. But that part of the scheme has been limited, and now funding for solar panels will only be given out as part of a package including other energy systems. A post on Home Energy Scotland's website reads, from Tuesday, June the 27th, funding for solar PV and energy storage systems will only be available as part of a package, together with a heat pump or high heat retention storage heaters. But across the pond in Australia, it's all units go. New Zealand's Prime Minister, Chris Hipkins, has signed a range of agreements on trade, agricultural, forestry, education and science after meeting his Chinese counterpart Li Qiang yesterday. China pledged cooperation on green and electric vehicle technology, in which it is the world's leader, whilst New Zealand was keen to increase exports. The meeting with Chinese President Xi Jinping, who stressed the importance of maintenance cultural exchange and said China and New Zealand relations were a model of its relationship with other developed countries. New Zealand was the first developed country to sign a free trade agreement with China in 2008, and it resisted the enrollment into the US new Cold War. In other news across the pond, Rio Tinto Group plans to start building its own batteries at a laboratory in Melbourne later this year to experiment with technologies in the rapidly growing clean energy sector. The world's second biggest miner aims to be a major producer of lithium and other battery metals. The laboratory will deepen Rio's skills and expertise and ultimately enhance our customers' propositions, Chief Executive of Minerals Sinead Kaufman said at a conference in Brisbane on Wednesday. At this lab, we will build our own batteries, allowing us to test how our minerals and other products will perform in real-world applications, such as in electric vehicle batteries, she said, adding that the laboratory would be operational from November. The Anglo-Australian miner doesn't intend to become a commercial battery manufacturer, a Rio spokesman has said. So we know the uptake of electric vehicles are high, and we also know that people are very aware of their carbon footprints and want to do better. And this story kind of backs that up. 50% of tourists want sustainable holidays despite higher costs. Now, Booking.com told Euronews that many people want to lower their carbon footprints when travelling, even if it does mean paying more. As many as 50% of travellers said they do not mind paying more to have a more sustainable holiday, according to one of the world's largest online travel agencies. Daniel De Silva, the head of sustainability at Booking.com, said on Tuesday that people are coming around to thinking that environmentally conscious travelling is a good thing. We know that there are some barriers they're facing, so while they have intent, there's also something getting in their way, and of course that's the cost, or the perception of cost, that is. Do they feel the sustainable options are too expensive? And it's also the idea that there is too few options for them to choose from. So what do you think? Would you pay a little bit more to know that your jollies are more sustainable? And finally, he is being hailed the King of the Planet. Now, King Charles here in the UK has been working with environmental projects for years. It's not something he's just taken up as he's taken on the crown. Now, the UK's King Charles is really serious about keeping space clean, so much so that he's unveiled the Astra Charta Framework seal at Buckingham Palace. The Astra Charta Framework is a sustainable market initiative, as described in a royal family press release, which emphasises sustainable practice for space companies. Charles unveiled the seal at the Space Sustainability event at the Palace, which saw attendees including scientists, astronauts, environmentalists, and of course celebrities, and musician and astrophysicist Brian May of Queen. Astra Charta also recognises the role of space in creating a more sustainable Earth, which humanity has made a mess of, as King Charles said yesterday. Sadly, it's true, we have made a little bit of a mess, but we're trying our very best to backpedal. Hopefully we can do it quick enough. So that is all from me. I'll be back with you next Friday. From everybody here at installHUB, you have a fantastic weekend, and if you're an installer, do be sure to check out our software and see how we could be saving you time and money so your weekends are that bit freer. Go to installHUB.com.